Hello and welcome to part 6 on how to create the Instagram UI with ReactJS. In this part I will show you how to create multiple stories. I will show you how to transition between videos, how to create the progress indicator, and I'm going to create the next and previous buttons. So let's get started. So before we get started, I'm going to alter the data in our JSON. So I'm going to add a duration variable right here, and I'm going to set that to 7. This will be the duration of our video. And next I'm going to alter the models as well. So the story model now has a duration attribute, and I'm going to add it right here. So duration will be a number, and I'm going to save up those two. So to get started, I'm going to open up the story component like this, and I'm going to change this index to a variable, and I'm going to say const story index set story index, and I'm going to set it equal to useState 0, and we have already imported the useState, so then I can just say that I want to change this with our variable story index like that. And the next thing I want to do is remove the source tag, because I'm going to be using the source inside of the video, and the reason for that is because when we update our source, the video needs to be re-rendered, and if we update the source, the video won't re-render. So that's why we put the source inside of the video, like this. And when we save it and look at the video, it is still showing and everything is back to normal. So the next thing I want to do is, when this video has ended, to go to the next video. So I'm going to use an use effect, and I'm going to trigger it when the component loads by doing this. And I'm going to give a ID to the video. ID is video. And then I'm going to fetch the element by saying const video is document get element by ID, and then our video as HTML video element. And I want to say if the video exists, we are going to say video.onEnded equals, and then we're going to create our function, and we're going to say console.log video ended exclamation mark. And when we open up our story and grab the console, we will see that when this video has ended, we will get a console log of ended. And at this point, we want to increment our story index, so it will go to the next video. So to do that, I'm going to say set story index, and then we're going to grab the previous value, so by saying value, and then I'm going to say value plus 1, so now it increments by 1. And if we save this and we open up our story, we will see that this video will continue on to the next one when the first one has finished. Yes, so that is working. So what I want to do is, when we come to the last video, we don't want to increment our video. We want to instead close the story section. So I'm going to implement a check right here. If story index equals stories.length -1, then we want to close it. So I'm going to call the onClose function, onClose, like that. And else, if it isn't the last video, we do want to increment it, like that. So now we have implemented the close function. So this won't actually work yet. The reason it won't work is because we are using the state right here, but the state won't get updated inside of this use effect. So we are going to create a reference to our state. So I'm going to say story index ref equals use ref, and then I'm going to set it to 0, and I'm going to import it from React as well, use ref. And then whenever we update our story, we want to update our index as well, our reference as well. So I'm going to say right here, use effect, and then open it up, add an array to it, and then in this array we put our story index value. So whenever this value gets updated, this will get executed, and we are going to execute it with the following code. We're going to say that the current story index ref will be the story index, and I have to put an equal mark to it, story index. So inside of this use effect, the story index will get updated, but in this one it won't get updated, so this will forever stay equal to 0. So in order to get the correct value, we are going to use the story index ref. So I'm going to set it there and say current. So right now, if I open up the story, we will see that it will close itself. So this is the last video of the story. After this video has ended, it will close itself like that, and we are back at our content page. So that's good, that is working. And the next thing that I want to do is to be able to pause the video. So when we open it up and we click on the video, it will pause. When we let go of it, it will resume the video. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a new state. So I'm going to say above this one, const story paused, set story paused. And I'm going to say use state of false. So initially it will be not paused, it will just play a video. And then I'm going to say when we click on the video, it will evaluate this to true, and if we let go, it will evaluate this to false. So on mouse down, we will create this function, and I'm going to say set story paused true, and then in our on mouse up, we're going to say set story paused to false. Okay, so now we have our state, which is correctly updating. Now we want to actually pause the video. So to do that, I'm going to use another use effect. And this time I'm going to pass the parameter of the story paused in it. So right here I'm going to say story paused. So this will get executed each time this variable changes. And then I can say if story paused, else. So if the story is paused, I want to get the video documented get element by ID as HTML video element, and then I'm going to say pause, and if the story is not paused, we're going to instead say play. So right now, if I open up our story and I click on the video, I can see that the video is stopping, and when I let go of my cursor, the video continues playing. So in order to make this a little bit more clear, I'm going to add a paused information button on there. So I'm going to add it in the upper right corner. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a div right here. I'm going to say div class name is paused, and I'm going to say paused, and I'm going to call this pause. And I'm going to say that we have to render this whenever our story is paused. So story pause, and then we render this div. So when we click on it, we will see nothing because I forgot the D. So if we re-render it right now, we will see that there is appearing a little bit of black text, and now we want to style it so we can actually see it. So I'm going to create a new class right here, paused, and I'm going to say story title pause, color of white, and a font size of 11 pixels. So right now it should be a little bit more clear, yes, when we press on the button, or on the video actually. So I want to give it a margin right as well, of 25 pixels. Good. And then I want to add a background to it as well. So I'm going to say background color RGB 80, 80, 80. And then I'm going to say padding of 5 pixels and a border radius of 3 pixels. So when we press right now, we will see a nice little pause button appearing in the upper right whenever we pause the video. So that's great. I want to continue with creating multiple video loading bars right above here. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a new section right here, which will be the loading bars, or maybe even the progress bars. And then right here we want to render for each story. So I'm going to use the map function, map stories.map story index, and then we want to return a div, which will be the progress container, progress bar container, and then right here we want to make another div with the actual progress bar. So class name is progress bar, like that. And then we want to style them. So right now we won't actually see them. That is what we are going to work on right now. So in order to see our progress bars, I'm going to create the class for it. I'm going to say progress bar container. I'm going to put it above the video. And I'm going to say that we want a background of 20 RGB 200, 200, 200. And I want to give it a fixed height of 2 pixels. Maybe even 1 pixel. Yes. But right now every progress bar is beneath each other. I want to display them next to each other. So I'm going to target the progress bars container around it. And I'm going to say display flex, like that. And then I'm going to say that we want a margin top of 25 pixels, like this. And now I don't see the progress bar anymore because we want to give it a flex of 1. So it will take up all the available space, like so. And then we want to give a little margin to it so you can see the space between the progress bars. So I'm going to say margin 0 pixels, 5 pixels, something like that. But the first and the last one don't need margin to the left or the right. So I'm going to target those. First child, margin left of 0 pixels. And then we want to say progress bar container last child, margin right of 0 pixels, like so. And then after we did this, we want to style the inner container. So I'm actually going to give a little bit darker background to the outer container. So I'm going to say 150, 150 and 150, like so. And then I can target the inner container by saying progress bar, like this. And I'm going to say background of white. So right now we won't see any background because this has 0% of width. So if we say width of 50%, we will see that every progress bar is 50% filled after I added height of 2 pixels. Yes, so now it has the same height as the parent, and we can actually see that it is at the half of it. So the next thing I want to do is create a class for a finished section, and a class for an active section, and a class for a normal section. So I'm going to create 3 different classes. The normal section will just be this, and then I want to say progress bar finished. We want to give that one a width of 100%. So as you saw just a moment ago, when we gave 50%, the bar was white for 50%, and when we say a width of 100%, the bar will be totally white. So that is what is a finished bar. And then I also want to create a active bar, so that is the bar we are currently watching. So progress bar active, and I don't want to give anything to that yet. I'm going to create that later. So now we want to apply the finished progress bar to it, and to do that I'm going to create a function which will return us the correct class. So I'm going to create a function get progress bar class name, and this will receive an index and it will return a class name. So instead of just placing the progress bar class name right here, I'm going to say get progress bar class name and then the index of it, like so. And then we are going to implement this function, and I'm going to say if index is smaller than our story index ref, which means that we have already seen this progress bar or seen the story, I will say that we are going to return a class of progress bar and progress bar finished. So else if our index is equal to the story index ref, we are going to say return progress bar, progress bar active, and else if that isn't true, it is not active and it is not be visited yet. So we are going to say return progress bar like this. That will be the default progress bar. And I'm going to use the use state here, because right here we can access the value of the use state. So I'm going to say story index, like so. And I'm going to save it up. And when we refresh the page, we will see that every bar is white right now. So that is not correct. So the reason why every bar is filled 100% is because I forgot to add that we want to start out with a width of 0%. So every progress bar will start with 0% width, except if it's finished, then it will have a width of 100%. So when we refresh the page, we will see that our first story is gray right now. And when we go to the next story, we will see this bar turn white, like this. So now we can see which stories we have already seen, but we also want to keep track of how far we are in the current story. So to do that, I'm going to use keyframes in CSS. So I'm going to say that we are creating a keyframes element right here, and I'm going to call it progress bar. I'm going to say when it's at 0%, we want a width of 0%. And when it's at 100%, we want a, oh, I made a typo, a width of 100%, like this. So now we have our keyframes, and now we want to apply them to the active progress bar. So I'm going to say animation name is progress bar, like so. And then we have to tell the element how long that it has to play the animation for. So I'm going to give it a style right here, and I'm going to say that we have a animation duration, like so. And then I want to use the variable that we have created in our story, so story.duration, and then I want to add an s to the end of it, so it will render it to seconds. So if we refresh the page right now, we will see that our current story is being displayed in this bar right here, but as you can see, it is going really fast to the beginning and really slow to the ending. So in order to fix this, I'm going to use the linear function. So I'm going inside of here, and I'm going to say animation, and then timing function is going to be linear. So if we refresh it, it will just spread out the time on the bar itself. So every section of the bar has equal long time. So now that we have our progress bar ready, we want to implement the pass function to it. So as you can see, when we click pass, the progress bar just keeps on continuing filling. We don't want that. And another thing I'm noticing right now is that when the progress bar is finished, we see that it goes back to normal, and we want to keep it white so it doesn't flicker when we go to the next video. In order to do that, I'm going to use the animation fill mode, and it will be forwards. So right now, if I refresh the page and I open up this story and I click pause, we can see that the meter is still filling, and when it is full, it will stay full like that, so we won't get to see it be empty again. And in order to fix the pause function, I'm going to go into our component, and I'm going to add a new class to it. I'm going to say progress bar paused, so progress bar paused, and I'm going to say animation, and then play state will be paused, and we want to pass this in when we give our class name to it. So I'm going to say right here, return if our what was the variable name again? If our story is passed, we want to return this with this to it, and else we want to return this. So this is a terminating operator. It will check if this variable is true or false. If it is true, so if the story is passed, it will return this, which will contain our progress bar passed class name. And if it is false, it will go to the next one. It will skip the first string, and it will return this. And right here we don't have the path class, so it won't get paused with it. And if we look at our story right now, we will see that our story gets paused just like we want. So that's really good. We can now pause in between stories, and the progress bar also waits with us. So to finish it up, I want to add the next and the previous buttons to our story so we can navigate between stories. To do so, I'm going to import two icons that we are going to use, which will be the chevron right and the chevron left. Chevron left, like this. And then I'm going to render them in our story or in our video. So I'm going to say chevron right, and then chevron left, or maybe chevron left before, chevron left, like this. And I want to give them a class name as well, so this will be previous, and this will be next, like so. And then I want to only render them when they need to be rendered. So what I mean with that is that when we are at the first story, we don't want to render the left chevron because we can't go back. And if we are at the last story, we don't want to render the chevron right because we don't have a next story after the last one. So I made a little typo here. It's class name with double S. And to fix them showing up when they don't need to, I'm going to add a logical operator right here. And I'm going to say if the index story index is equal to 0 or not equal to 0, then we want to render this one because then it's not the first story. And the same with this one. If the story index is not equal to stories.length -1, then we want to render this section. So I don't know why it is okay, so that's good. Now we won't see them when they are the first or the last section. And if we open up our page and we open up our story, we won't actually see them. Well, I can see one right here, but it is really dark, so in order to see them, I'm going to give them a little bit of color. So I'm going to say in our story title SVG no, in our story video right here, dot story dot video SVG, and I'm going to say color white. I'm going to put it underneath this one, and then we can see the button appearing. So then we have the next button right here. It's good. And when we go to the next story, we also see the left button. Yes, good. And then we want to move them left and right to the video. So I'm going to say position of absolute, and I'm going to say that this one has to have a left of 0 pixels, or sorry, I mean I want to target the previous one. So dot story dot video dot previous, that one will have a left of 0 pixels, and then the right will have a the next one will have a right of 0 pixels, like so. So if we open it right now, we will see the right one will stay to the right and the left one will come on the left right here. But this is not what we want. We want them to be relative to our video. So to do that, we are going to add a position to it. I'm going to say position relative, and if we refresh it, we will see it snapping relatively to the video. I'm also going to say that we want to give them a top of 50%. So now they are being rendered in the center of the video. And then I want to give them a little bit of margin. So I'm going to say -50 pixels and -50 pixels. So right now we can see that the icons are being rendered on the side, and when we go to the next video, the left icon will be on the left side. And then I want to give it a little bit of background color, so it looks like a button, and I'm going to say background color of RGB 80 80 80, and then we can leave this a black. So if we open up this, it looks kinda bad, but we are going to fix it by saying border radius of 50%, like so, and it looks already a lot better. Maybe we want to keep the white. I think I like that more, or not, I don't know. Well, I'm going to keep it as white. And then I want to add a hoverable class to it, so it looks like we can press those buttons. and instead of just looking like we can press them, we are going to make them pressable. So when we click on this one, we want to go to the next one, and when we click on the previous button, we want to go to the previous post section or the previous story. So I'm going to say when we click on this one, on click equals function event, and I'm going to say set story index, and I'm going to grab the value, and I'm going to say value -1. So now we go back one, and when we click on the right chevron, we're going to say value +1, like this. So now when we refresh the page and we open up our story model and we click on this one, we will go to the next story, and with this one we go to the previous story. So now we can navigate between the stories like so, and we can also even pause them when we like. I think we did a really good job in recreating the story section. We created this story section which we can open up, and then we get our loading bar with the videos in it. We can go to a next video, we can also go back to a video, and when we click on the video we will see the pause UI popping up, and we will also see that our progress bar stops until we let go of it, and it will continue. So this will be it for the series on how to create the Instagram UI with ReactJS. I hope you have enjoyed. I did by recreating this, and I will see you in the next series. Thank you for watching. Bye.